This is Richard Lang. You're listening to The Bunker Briefing. This video stream is coming to you from an underground facility at an undisclosed location somewhere in Virginia. Welcome to The Bunker Briefing. Today we're going to talk about social media, the power of social media, what constitutes social media, the different types, net neutrality, censorship, social engineering, and even target marketing and the unauthorized use of private data. Let's get started. How powerful is social media? Well, let's take a look. 81% of the people in the United States say they look online for news and weather first. 80% of American adults are online every day. 81% of them have some type of social media account. 52% of Americans say they use social media sites to communicate with their family and friends. There's 5.7 billion people currently using smartphone devices around the world. And these mobile phones work great with social media because of the web browsing capabilities. The smartphones allow individual immediate access to social networking sites, and they basically can communicate on a global scale. Let's unwrap what we call social media. Let's look at the different types of social media. First of all, Google and YouTube are search engines. Facebook and Twitter are social networking sites and microblogging sites. And Infinity is a service provider, an internet service provider. So let's take a look at the different types. Internet service provider, sometimes called an ISP. An ISP provides service for accessing and using the internet. An ISP typically serves as the access point that most people use to get into the internet and find everything that's available on the internet. They can be commercially owned, community owned, or privately owned. Xfinity is the trade name of Comcast Communications and is currently the largest U.S. cable internet service provider. Generally, an ISP doesn't really care what you're looking at on the internet because the ISPs are funded by people who pay to subscribe to their services. You pay a monthly fee for the internet. Net neutrality is the principle that the internet service providers must treat all internet communications equally and may not intentionally block or slow down service, which is known as bandwidth throttling. Supporters of net neutrality argue that the network neutrality will foster free speech. The fear is that without regulations, the major internet service providers will use their position of power to stifle people's rights. So far, the United States Congress has attempted to pass legislation supporting net neutrality, but have failed to gain support. In 2018, a Republican-sponsored bill cleared the U.S. Senate, but the Democrat House majority denied to hear the bill. Search engines. Google is the largest search engine on Earth. Google is the most visited website in the world and was the most valuable company to own in 2017. It's received significant criticism involving issues such as privacy concerns, tax avoidance, antitrust, censorship, and search neutrality. Google offers Blogger for publishing, Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Maps, Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Photos, Google Translate, and YouTube for viewing and sharing video. YouTube is the second most visited internet site in the world. 1 billion hours of YouTube content is watched every day. YouTube attracts 40% of all the internet users. 37% of all mobile phone traffic belongs to YouTube. YouTube's terms of service prohibits the posting of videos which violate copyright, predict pornography, illegal acts, violence, and hate speech. Users that post video that conflicts with their terms will receive a message stating that the video is no longer available because the content violated YouTube's terms of service. A final note with YouTube, their revenue streams come from advertising revenues that's provided by the corporations that use their services and advertise on YouTube. A lot of people worry that certain YouTube channels have been taken down or censored because of political or religious reasons. I think in the background actually what's going on, these corporations see something that's been posted and determine it conflicts with their branding or their corporate mission, and they basically tell YouTube to take it down because it conflicts with their business interest, which is more likely than them censoring something because of religious or a political implication. Once again, it's all about corporate control. Social networking, Facebook. Facebook is an online social networking service based in California. Users can essentially create a profile revealing information about themselves, and then they can post text, photos, multimedia messages that are shared with other users that have essentially agreed to be their friend. They can also use different privacy settings to allow any readers to see their posts. Messages can also be facilitated between friends. Facebook requires that a person use their real name when they register an account and configure their user profile. Facebook can be accessed from devices with internet connectivity such as personal computers, tablets, and obviously smartphones. A lot of talk about Facebook jail, which is a term when Facebook suspends accounts for breaking Facebook community standards, whether it's done deliberately or accidentally. To name a few of the violations, has to do with child sexual exploitation, abuse, nudity, violence, criminal behavior, human exploitation, privacy violations, and imaging privacy violations. Typically what will happen is Facebook will suspend the user's account for a period of time, and it's called being put in Facebook jail. As far as censorship goes, there's a lot of controversy right now about Facebook. They tend to be censoring certain types of information. If you happen to say something about hydroxychloroquine or say something nice about the President of the United States, your post and your account's probably going to be taken down, which is interesting. Twitter is another social networking site that's actually called a microblogging site. Users interact with each other with messages known as tweets. Microblogs differ from a traditional blog in that the content is typically smaller in both actual and aggravated file size. So microblogs allow users to exchange small bits of information in short sentences. Individual images or videos can be linked to them. Tweets were originally restricted to 140 characters, but now it's up to 280 characters since November of 2017. Twitter's based in San Francisco and has 25 offices around the world. President Trump has brought a lot of attention to Twitter since he was elected. This past month, he gained 1.7 million new followers to his account. He now totals over 80 million followers on Twitter, which is a way for him to bypass the media and communicate directly with his followers. Censorship. The methodology of censorship, at least on the internet, is pretty much like the traditional media censorship, where they're regulating newspapers and magazines, banning and burning books, controlling and closing radio and television stations. However, on the internet, national borders are much more permeable because bans on information can be found on websites hosted outside of the geographical jurisdiction. Use of technical internet censorship methods includes blocking, blacklisting, filtering, throttling, and removing of users' accounts. This can be done on a centralized national level, a subnational level, or on an institutional level, for example in libraries, universities, or internet cafes. Note that 60% of the most popular YouTube videos cannot be viewed in Germany because they're blocked. Social engineering. Social engineering is a discipline to influence attitudes and social behaviors on a grand scale by global corporate interests through controlled media and education systems in order to produce desired changes in thinking in a target population. It's done by changing the concepts of a society by placing stress on individuals, restricting personal freedoms, controlling the availability of information, government regulation, legislation, and financial incentives that affect individuals in order to control their behavior. We're seeing this now in what they're calling the new normal. The new normal, with the current wave of COVID-19, it's almost like what they call the problem reaction solution. The problem is we've got a global virus, the COVID-19. The reaction is public fear, everyone's terrorized. The solution is lockdowns, government restrictions, vaccines, and implants. So you've got the second wave of COVID-19 coming. The large corporate stores are starting to not accept cash. And of course, they're talking about the implants, the COVID Pass, which is stuck under the skin between your thumb and your forefinger. To my amazement, this whole national movement to defund the police departments is like probably the best example of social engineering that's ever been made. The concept of protection as a public forum versus the editorial control of a publisher. The right-wing group Prager University sued YouTube in 2017 for flagging some of its videos as inappropriate. Prager posts videos on everything from economics to philosophy from a conservative Christian perspective. Prager basically argued in the suit that YouTube is a public forum and legally obligated not to discriminate on the basis of expressed political views. By marking their videos as inappropriate, this constituted illegal censorship under the First Amendment. Federal Circuit Court judge in California, Margaret McCowan, ruled in February that First Amendment applies to government censorship of public speech rather than private companies. Despite YouTube's role as a public-facing platform, she ruled it remains a private forum, not a public forum, and not subject to judicial scrutiny under the First Amendment. One of the things that we've done is to explore additional options as far as posting content. We found BitChute, which is a peer-to-peer content sharing platform that works very much like YouTube. It's domiciled in the United Kingdom. Video content can be uploaded and shared on a global basis. BitChute puts creators first and provides them with a service that they can use to flourish and express their ideas freely. They do not censor content or discriminate on the basis of expressed political views. BitChute is free to watch. BitChute advertises that they are all about freedom of expression, opportunity to succeed, people power, and empowering creators. As a note, Lang Online Media has a monthly paying membership with BitChute, and we post all the Bunker Briefing episodes on BitChute as the uncensored version you can watch for free. We also looked at Parler and set up an account with them as well. Parler works like Facebook. It's basically a free expression site that guarantees user privacy. Parler is an unbiased social platform focused on open dialogue and user engagement. They allow free speech and do not censor ideas, political parties, or ideologies. They protect your privacy and they'll never sell your data. Unlike Facebook, that derives a considerable amount of their revenue from selling user data. As a final note, the Bunker Briefing is produced by Lang Online Media. Lang Online Media is not sponsored in any way. We're not paid by any individual, corporation, or political action group. All members of our team, including myself, serve without compensation, with only the interest in socially conscious issues. We all have our beliefs, preferences, and political views. However, on this site, we're doing our best to keep all of that out of the content we post, with the exception that we support law enforcement and the protection of police officers. It's our intention to produce honest, factual content and to publish information in a non-biased way that allows our viewers to listen to our podcasts, watch our videos, and draw their own conclusions. This is Richard Lang. Thanks for listening. This podcast was produced by Lang Online Media. You can reach us on the web at langonline.media. Please like our video and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And as always, be careful out there.